What if your house cat was no longer small enough to curl up on your lap, but instead as big as a car? Still cute? Suddenly, the most dangerous predator in your city. Today's question is simple, but the consequences are massive. What if domestic cats were 10 times larger in size? It's not just heavier, but proportionally bigger in every way. Their bones, their muscles, their claws, their brains, and most importantly, their instincts. Let's break this down using biology, physics, and ecology. An average house cat weighs about 4 kilograms. If a cat grew 10 times larger in length and height, its weight wouldn't increase tenfold. It would increase by 1,000 times. That means a giant cat would weigh around 4,000 kilograms, as heavy as a large SUV. Why? Because volume scales with the cube of size. This immediately creates a problem. Cat bones are designed for agility, not massive weight. At this scale, their skeletons would struggle under their own mass. Unless evolution redesigned their bones to be thicker and denser, many cats wouldn't be able to walk, or jump, or even stand for long. Gravity would suddenly be their enemy. Normal cats can sprint at 48 kilometers per hour. Now imagine a predator the size of a truck, moving even half that speed. Their muscles scaled up would generate enormous force. Single swipe could flip a car, collapse a wall, kill large animals instantly. Hunting wouldn't be survival anymore, and it would be overkill. A normal cat eats about 250 calories a day. At a cat 10 times larger, it would need hundreds of thousands of calories daily. That is equivalent to several cows, dozens of sheep, or entire food supply chains. Cities could not support them. Farms would collapse. Ecosystems would break. Even normal cats are responsible for billions of bird and small animal deaths every year. Now scale that up. Large cats would become apex predators everywhere. Forests, deserts, cities, many species would go extinct within years. The balance of nature would be permanently altered. Would giant cats hunt humans? Not intentionally, but accidents alone would be deadly. A playful bite, a defensive swipe, a jump from a rooftop. Cities would need reinforced buildings, military-grade containment, entire exclusion zones. Owning a cat would no longer be a hobby. It would be a national security risk. Cats don't lose their instincts when they grow. They'd still stalk, play with prey, defend territory, but now their territory could be entire neighborhoods. Even with the same intelligence level, their power would make them unpredictable and unstoppable. Realistically? No. Humans could not safely coexist with animals this large, this strong, and this instinct-driven. The only possibilities would be strict isolation, controlled reserves, or eventual extinction. Either theirs or ours. Nature does not scale without consequences. So, what if cats were 10 times bigger? They wouldn't be pets. They wouldn't be cute internet icons. They would be walking disasters, proof that size, power, and instinct must remain in balance. Sometimes, small what keeps the world alive. What if your house cat was no longer small enough to curl up on your lap, but instead as big as a car? Still cute? Or suddenly, the most dangerous predator in your city? Today's question is simple, but the consequences are massive. What if domestic cats were 10 times larger in size? Not just heavier, but proportionally bigger in every way. Their bones, their muscles, their claws, their brains, and most importantly, their instincts. Let's break this down using biology, physics, and ecology. First, let's talk about the sheer scale of this change. An average house cat weighs about 4 kilograms or around 9 pounds. If we scale it up 10 times in length, width, and height, its weight doesn't just increase tenfold. It increases by a factor of 1,000. This is due to a fundamental principle in physics known as the cube-square law. It states that as an object grows in size, its volume increases by the cube of the multiplier, while its surface area increases by the square. So, our 4-kilogram cat would suddenly weigh a staggering 4,000 kilograms, or nearly 9,000 pounds. That's as heavy as a large SUV or a small elephant. Imagine that much weight, concentrated into the agile frame of a cat. This immediately creates a massive biological problem. A cat's skeleton is a masterpiece of evolution, designed for incredible agility, flexibility, and explosive power, not for supporting the weight of a truck. Their bones are relatively lightweight to allow them to leap many times their own height and land on their feet. At this new scale, Gravity would become their greatest enemy. The stress on their leg bones, spine, and joints would be immense. Without a complete evolutionary redesign, thicker, denser bones like those of an elephant or a rhinoceros, many of these giant cats would not even be able to stand for long periods. The simple act of walking would put them at risk of fractures. Jumping from a countertop, a signature cat move, would be like a human jumping off a multi-story building. Their bodies simply aren't built for it. But let's assume evolution gives them a hand and their bodies can withstand the strain. What about their physical abilities? Here's where things get truly terrifying. A domestic cat can sprint at around 48 kilometers per hour, or 30 miles per hour, over short distances. Their muscle fibers are designed for rapid, powerful contractions. If we scale up these muscles, the force they could generate would be astronomical. Even if their top speed was reduced due to their immense mass, the momentum they'd carry would be unstoppable. Single swipe from a paw that's now the size of a car door, armed with claws as long as kitchen knives, could do more than just scratch. It could flip a car over, demolish the wall of a house, or bring down a large tree. Hunting would no longer be about survival. It would be about sheer, overwhelming destruction. Their bite force, already impressive in a small cat, would now be capable of crushing steel and bone with ease. Now let's consider their appetite. A normal house cat eats about 250 calories a day to maintain its energy. A giant cat weighing 1,000 times more would have a colossal metabolism to fuel its massive body. Its daily caloric needs would skyrocket into the hundreds of thousands, if not more. What does that mean in practical terms? It would be the equivalent of eating several cows, dozens of sheep, or hundreds of chickens every single day. A single giant cat would need its own dedicated farm just to survive. Our entire agricultural system would be threatened. Cities could not support them. The food supply chains that we rely on would collapse under the demand. Imagine fleets of trucks delivering food not to supermarkets but to a single hungry feline predator living in your city. It's simply not sustainable. This brings us to the ecological impact. Even at their current size, domestic and feral cats are incredibly effective predators. Scientists estimate they are responsible for the deaths of billions of birds and small mammals every year. They are one of the leading human-linked causes of wildlife decline. Now, scale that impact up. A 10 times larger cat wouldn't be hunting mice and sparrows. It would be hunting deer, wild boar, cattle, and any other large animal it could find. They would instantly become the apex predator in virtually every environment on Earth, from forests and grasslands to deserts, and even our urban jungles. Native predators, like wolves, bears, and lions, would be outmatched and likely driven to extinction. Entire species of herbivores would be wiped out within years. The delicate balance of nature, built over millions of years, would be shattered, leading to cascading ecosystem collapse. We would witness an extinction event on a scale we've never seen before. So the big question, would these giant cats hunt humans? The answer is complex. Not necessarily out of malice or a specific preference. After all, your cat doesn't hate the laser pointer dot, just wants to catch it. But we would undoubtedly become part of their environment. Accidents alone would be catastrophic. A playful pounce from a 4,000-kilogram animal would be instantly fatal. Defensive swipe, if it felt cornered, could wipe out a group of people. A giant cat trying to play with a moving car would be a traffic disaster. And what about when they get hungry? In an urban environment without enough large prey, humans would unfortunately be on the menu. We are slow, soft, and relatively defenseless against a predator of this magnitude. Our cities would have to change entirely. We would need reinforced buildings, high walls, and military-grade containment protocols just to manage a single one of these creatures. Exclusion zones would have to be established around their territories. Owning a cat would transform from a comforting hobby into a matter of national security. No cat door would be safe. No fence would be high enough. Their instincts wouldn't change just because their size did. They would still stalk, play with their prey, and aggressively defend their territory. But now, that territory could encompass entire neighborhoods or city blocks. Their purr, which we find so soothing, would now be a low-frequency rumble that could shake buildings. Their meow for food would sound like a foghorn. Even their intelligence, which is roughly equivalent to a 2-year-old human, would become a source of danger. They are smart enough to solve problems, open doors, and learn routines. A giant cat would be a thinking, learning for a 1,000-kilogram killing machine. It would learn where people congregate, when food deliveries arrive, and how to bypass our primitive defenses. Its curiosity would lead it to explore power plants, its infrastructure, and transport hubs, causing unimaginable chaos. Realistically, could humans and these megacats coexist? The answer is almost certainly no. We could not live safely alongside animals this large, this powerful, and this driven by deep-seated predatory instincts. The only plausible scenarios would be their strict isolation in heavily fortified nature reserves far away from human populations, like a real-life Jurassic Park, but with fur. Or, more grimly, it would lead to an all-out war for survival, a conflict that would result in the eventual extinction of one of us. Given our history and technology, we would likely win, but the cost would be immense. The thought experiment reveals a profound truth about the natural world. Everything is about balance. Nature does not scale up without consequences. So what if cats were 10 times bigger? They wouldn't be our pets. They wouldn't be cute internet icons. They would be walking, purring ecological disasters, a terrifying reminder that sometimes it's the small things in life that keep our world from falling apart. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this thought experiment, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for more deep dives into the what-ifs of our world. See you next time.